Welcome to Ridgewood Talks. Through this podcast, we will be introducing you to some of the leaders and legends in our village. We'll keep you updated about fascinating local events. We'll dig into the town's hot topics and so much more. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Jeannie Johnson, the founder of Ridgewood Talks and Ridgewood Walks. The goal of these initiatives is to create a kinder, more connected, and more vibrant community. I'm thrilled to be hosting this podcast with my good friend and all-around wonderful guy, Jordan Kaufman. We look forward to meeting with you weekly and hearing your thoughts on who and what you'd like to learn about in our beautiful hometown. For now, be kind, do good, and enjoy this episode. Here we go. Hi, listeners. We've said it before and we'll say it again. Our little podcast is dedicated to discussing issues that impact the village of Ridgewood. And as you all know, a pivotal national election is coming up and several local, county, and state seats are also up for election. In keeping with our pledge to help voters stay informed about local, county, state, and national elections, Ridgewood Talks is taking this opportunity to speak with Burton Walsh and Melone. They serve as co-presidents of the Ridgewood League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. Each election cycle, the League organizes a candidates' night to give voters a chance to hear their positions on the most pressing issues that affect our community. Burton Walsh is a prominent figure in Ridgewood. She was born and raised here and is raising her family here. She's taken after her mother, Marlene Burton, who was a valued and active League member. Anne currently serves as the co-president, and in addition to her role with the League, she is a partner at a prestigious New York City-based law firm and is deeply involved in our community, advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She co-chairs the Ridgewood Ambassadors for Global Citizenship, a group formed to promote these values locally, and she has also organized events that bring attention to social justice issues in the Ridgewood area. And as I said, her co-president is Anne Melone, who is also a longtime Ridgewood resident. She's lived here for 40 years, raised her children here. She has 3 adult daughters now. She is a retired school counselor and is very involved with the community since her retirement in 2018. So Anne, thank you so much for being here. Really, most importantly, what do you want our listeners to know about you? How did you get involved with the League of Women Voters? Anne Walsh, I'm going to let you start.
Thanks, Jeannie, and thanks for that wonderful introduction. I got involved with the League when I returned to Ridgewood in 2009. My family had been in Australia and Sydney for my husband's job, and the global financial crisis sort of caught up with us. We came back to the States and moved in with my parents on Liberty Street in Ridgewood. And my mother was always working on some issue or another for the League of Women Voters. It was either charter schools or wood as a sustainable resource. And she would have all of her papers and research spread out over the dining room table. And at the time I had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. So I was busy with them. But my mother, after a year or so had gone by and we moved into our own house on South Irving Street, my mother really encouraged me to get involved with the League. At that time, she had become focused on education, specifically on the Common Core state standards, and had strong views and really urged me to get involved. And that's when I started to attend meetings. And in the summer of 2014, we put together a seminar, which several state education officials were happy to attend, as well as several anti-Common Core state standards activists. So it was a really, at the time, just very dynamic and interesting topic. And we were able to really attract a number of, I think we had 350 plus people to the library for the seminar. The police department worked with us and allowed more people to come in. People were very concerned about what was happening and also felt like they didn't know what was happening and why and what the concerns were. So I was just struck by the League's ability to, attract speakers from both sides of an issue, sort of with the promise that we would be nonpartisan, not take a side, and present both sides fairly.
That's beautiful. I love that you're following in your mother's footsteps because she was a fierce advocate for this community. And like you said, her main issues were about children. So Thank you for following her legacy. And Anne Melone, tell us a little bit about you and why you joined the League.
Well, when I was raising my family here, I was always involved with what was going on with schools. And of course, that was my background. I was always involved with education. I started out teaching in a Montessori school. So I really can say that I was involved with children from the preschool years pretty much into their college years. So education has been a springboard for me as well. Upon retirement, as I said, I suddenly found that I had time. I'd always wanted to attend the daytime league meetings, so that was my opening, and I was so welcomed. And I must say, I was so welcomed by Marlene and another wonderful leader, Linda McNamara, who's also passed on. I felt like I was home. And what I felt passionate about in terms of the world at large, who are our leaders? What is going on in education? How can we help? How can we increase DEI efforts? These are all values that I have, which the league shares. So I'm just so comfortable working in this nonpartisan environment, and I think that is the key to who we are. The fact that we do listen to both sides and then let people decide.
I appreciate that too. And one of the things that I really enjoy about the League is that you really take a look at all of the policies, not just education. So tell us a little bit more about, how the League does this and, what the structure is of analyzing issues that are pertinent to our community.
Studies of issues happen in different ways. Often the state league or LWVUS, the national organization, will set up a study and kind of pre-package it for local leagues. Charter schools was an example of that type of study where I believe it was LWVNJ put together the materials, and then local leagues were able to opt in and say, yes, we'd like to do this study. And studies usually begin at the beginning of our fiscal year, which is, our year is basically September to June. It tracks the school year. And a subcommittee will be formed to study an issue. We'll meet several times over the course of the year. Members will read the materials, and then there will be an attempt to come to a consensus on a position. Studies can also happen organically, where in the spring, a local league will identify an issue that it wants to study and ask who is available to join a subcommittee, who would like to lead it. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas as to what they'd like to study, but sometimes we don't have the bandwidth. We really need someone to step up and lead the study. Examples of prepackaged studies also include campus sexual assault. That was a study led by Linda McNamara, our late board secretary, who was a real force on the league as well. And thank you so much for the kind words about my mother. She really was so passionate about education and just felt so strongly that every concerned citizen should really be looking at this issue, especially if you had kids in public schools. Local studies that we've done, one was led by Ellie Gruber. This is a few years back, and Ellie Gruber is also a longtime member, having served on the league for over 50 years, and also the State League's Environmental Committee. She spearheaded a study on geese. It was how to address the problem of geese humanely, because geese were everywhere and creating kind of a mess in town, including at Graydon Pool, our town pool. And the committee studied how to deal with this, and the solution involved something having to do with eggs and humanely preventing eggs from hatching to reduce the goose population in Ridgewood. Another local study that my mother spearheaded was about technology and education, because she saw a connection between the attempt to introduce and implement national standards in the United States for K through 12 and the increase in the use of technology. And there was testing that began, and that testing had to be done on computers. And so that then caused schools, including Ridgewood's district, to introduce, typing lessons for kids starting in kindergarten and first grade. And my mother just felt very strongly that we should be looking at the effects that things like typing classes were replacing, and also whether technology, including the gamification of math, actually had any results that could be relied upon, and whether it was a smart way of teaching math. My mother was a math tutor for 25 years.
Well, thank you you for that. And Anne Melone, tell us, what would you like our listeners to know about the League of Women Voters?
Well, just again, how involved we are on a variety of issues and how we present fact-based information. Now, we recently held our annual luncheon, and the topic was affordable housing. We were able to secure a wonderful speaker who's an expert on the topic in New Jersey, Stacy Berger. So that was held on October 9th, and we had numerous questions from our attendees. Our speaker was very generous with her time, and I think everyone felt that they had an opportunity to question the speaker. And so we received really the best information possible, I believe, about new legislation that Governor Murphy signed into law at the end of 2023, I believe. And so more information will be forthcoming about Ridgewood's mandate, to provide affordable housing. In addition, this Wednesday, we will hold our candidates night, and we will have a debate at Village Hall, and the 4 candidates who are running will be present. We've asked the public for questions. Questions have come in through our email account, and once again, we will be providing attendees the opportunity to ask questions of the candidates. So I think that we're offering the residents of Ridgewood an opportunity to learn about very important topics.
And I guess that's my next question. I'm really curious, what are some of the most pressing issues on the minds of voters in Ridgewood?
That's a good question. I haven't seen the questions for this Wednesday's Village Council debate, but I know that voters in Ridgewood are concerned about flooding and water management and field availability. I know that many residents have been focused on the Shedler property in Ridgewood for probably over a decade now. I think that voters are, concerned about roads, although I think there have been a lot of improvements recently in the paving of roads. But I think for Ridgewood too, probably one of the most important issues is the school system, because it is, between 65 and 70% of our municipal budget. And also, Ridgewood's property values depend, I think, in large part on the strength of the school system. Although, of course, the Board of Ed, that's their province and not the village councils.
Are all the council candidates participating in Wednesday night's discussions?
Yes. And that's something that we're so fortunate to be able to say, which is that for all of our debates that we've held, at least over the past 10 years, our village council and Board of Education debates, all of the candidates have been present.
And do you guys record that, or is that a in-person only? Like, is there a way for those who can't make that event to benefit from some of the information and comments shared?
You can view the debate live on Channel 34 FiOS, or by streaming live on YouTube, and you should search on Village of Ridgewood. And the debate will also be archived for future viewing on YouTube.
And one of the things that I think is really important for listeners to understand about the way that these debates are structured, the person that is asking the questions is actually not a Ridgewood resident. You try to keep that a little bit separate. So could you just tell us a little bit more about the process and what the debate looks like?
Well, our voter services chair people are fantastic, and they plan well in advance. And we ask members who do not live in Ridgewood, and we have many, we ask them to come and to filter the questions. They're impartial.
I'll just echo the fact that our voter service team has, been excellent. Joan Burns heads it up with Patty Infantino, and in recent years, Beth Grossman from Mawa has played a big role. Joan starts planning for the fall debates usually early in the summer, reaching out to the candidates, securing their attendance, and then meeting with the committee to come up with 2 or 3 questions that go to the candidates ahead of time so that they are able to prepare answers to those questions. And in addition to the moderator is not from Ridgewood. The moderator is a league person. And then, the people who pick the questions that I think Anne mentioned are not from Ridgewood. That puts the candidates on the public at ease that Ridgewood voters from the league are not the ones making the determination. Because of course, if you live in Ridgewood, you feel strongly about the issues. I think that everybody makes an effort to be fully nonpartisan, but the appearance of impropriety is always something that we're trying to avoid, as well as, actual partisanship. So we want to assure the public and the candidates that the event is totally nonpartisan.
I think one thing for me, when you guys have held this event in the past, a lot of the campaigning is done kind of stump speeches here and there at different locations or through websites and, information pumped out through social media or email. This is really one of those unique times where you get to see all the candidates sitting next to each other, answering the same question. You get to see their demeanor. You really get a totally different perspective, I feel like, with the event that you guys put on. Even to be able to rewatch it is something where you just capture so much information in such a short period of time. I know for a lot of us who are parents, we're a little stretched for time. We're trying to figure out ways to kind of, siphon information in the quickest form possible. And I really think that this event that you guys hold is one of the best ways to understand what's going on, the local politicians who are running for council positions. So I really appreciate that you guys put this together and, then put it out for those who aren't able to make it on that specific date. I think it's fantastic.
And Melone, tell us, when are the candidates' debates again?
The candidates' debate will be on October 16th at 7:30 in Village Hall. I might add that our Board of Ed election is not contested this year, so that there are 3 open spots and there are 3 candidates. So we will not be holding a Board of Education debate this year.
Okay, so ladies, I know we have to wrap this up. So I want you to tell our listeners why they should join the League of Women Voters, where they can go for information, when and where the meetings are.
I just want to encourage people to join, because it's been so fulfilling for me to be active and involved in the village, which I love. And I would encourage others to have that same sense of fulfillment. And you can join Ridgewood League of Women Voters at gmail.com. Our website is League of Women Voters, LWV, ridgewoodnj.org. We have that Gmail account and people are sending in messages all the time. Our meetings are the 3rd Thursdays of the month, and they are at Village Hall in the Senior Lounge. And they're open. They begin at 12:30. People can come. They can test the water, so to speak. And I might add, the refreshments have been outstanding.
That's always a treat. I also want to remind our listeners that if you are of voting age, if you are 18 years old, you are eligible to be a member of the League of Women Voters. And there's no cap. There's no age cap. So it's a beautiful array of people that are there. And by the way, it's not just for women. Even though it's the League of Women Voters, there are men who are there. And more importantly, it's not just Ridgewood people, which is interesting because we also have people that are part of the organization that are from surrounding towns. Isn't that right, Ann Burton Walsh?
Yes, it is. Ridgewood has a robust league with a larger membership, I think larger than any other local league in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. But the surrounding towns in Bergen County don't have a functioning league chapter at all. So we do have members from Wyckoff, Mahwah, and yes, you're right that you do not have to be a woman to join. We have a good number of male members, and you also don't have to be a voter to join. Students 16 and above can join, and non-citizens are also very welcome. Non-citizens obviously pay taxes and have every right to participate in our local process and government to the extent they're able, and they're certainly very welcome to the league. So I've often joked that the league, we might think about renaming it the League of People, because we're more than women and we're more than voters. And guests, as Anne mentioned, are very welcome. We encourage our friends and neighbors and anyone interested to drop by for a meeting or two, again, on the 3rd Thursday of the month. And if you're not able to attend in person, we do have hybrid access. We have a Zoom link that we circulate. And after 2 meetings, we do encourage people, if they're interested in continuing and participating, to join. And we also let people know that they're very welcome to just attend meetings. People are not required to join subcommittees and do any sort of work. They're very welcome to join meetings whenever they can and just get more information about our local government and what issues are most pressing.
So thank you again, ladies, for being with us today. It was very informative. informative. I hope everyone goes to the candidates night. This is something that is very, very worthwhile. And I will include in the show notes all the information on how you can contact the League of Women Voters and be a part of this amazing organization.
I wonder if I should add a vote411.org. If voters want to see what races are happening in a given election season and who the candidates are, then they can go to vote411.org. But our goal is also just to have a presence and be able to answer people's questions and remind them to vote. So the get out the vote effort is also a big part of what we do. Civic engagement is so important. As Rura Calabi always says, democracy dies in your backyard. That spark of inspiration to get involved. And it doesn't have to be all consuming. It could be doing what you can when you can. That I haven't been able to talk about how much Anne has done as co-president. Anne spent the summer organizing our amazing speaker for affordable housing, Stacey Berger from the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey, as well as organizing Keith Kasmark, who was our speaker at our first meeting. And I just kept seeing the emails where Anne was taking care of everything and my blood pressure was dropping. And I just greatly appreciated that so much. And
so she is the powerhouse.
Anne is fantastic. Yes, Anne is a powerhouse, a terrific speaker.
That's how our show notes are going to refer you.
And it's the inspiration for all of us. So,
and the inspiration, and you're the powerhouse. That will be included in our show notes. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
See you
all.
later. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.